Hey everybody, welcome to Bish's welcome to Las Vegas. I'm Josh with Bish's RV, away from my Coldwater, Michigan hometown store, taking a look at the new version of what used to be called the 174, now called the 175 Jay Flight. And it's mostly the same RV in terms of floor plan, although it does now have a dedicated sink in the bathroom, so you don't have to wash your bathroom hands in the kitchen sink, which some people are excited about. But it's a full 8 foot wide now instead of 7 foot wide. The whole thing grew by a foot. And as a result, what you really gained here was a lot of extra storage that just was not there before. Whether the kitchen was completely redesigned, I really like the attention to detail they're pumping into the kitchens on these. The dinette is also practically twice as big as it was before. So a family of 4, assuming 2 little kids, because it's a small bunkhouse, probably little kids, can actually all 4 have a meal at the table, which is not something that you always had the opportunity to do before. Now it's a little camper, so there's things like, yeah, it has a tiny awning, but there's also things like you can get a lift package on it if and more propane if you want to go and stay off grid a little bit longer. There's available solar packages. There's even an available fiberglass skin package on this. So it's the kind of camper where it could be an absolute, truly the first camper you've ever had, entry-level product, but it could also be something that you target that's a little slightly more upscale without going all the way off the budget deep end and going broke buying it. This still has some really nice features, like Jayco's have twice the warranty of anybody else, for instance. Pocket screwed lumber core cabinetry. They gave it hidden hinges and magnet holdbacks and good drawers in the kitchen and a bunch of stuff that you don't normally find in this class. But it's got a couple hitches and it's giddy up too. So I'm going to try to share the good, the bad with the ugly, with everything in between as we go through today. And if you appreciate that, hit that subscribe button. Let's get started. And if you've been looking at campers for any length of time, you're looking at this thing going, oh my gosh, this layout again? Yeah, there's a reason everybody builds this. This is one of the most popular layouts out there, period. I'm kind of curious what you think about the revised version here. They not only is it 8 foot wide, so it physically is bigger, they made it look a little bit bigger by making the bunks look mostly open. And when I hear open bunks in my head, I go, yeah, now my kids are going to fall out. Thanks, Jack. And then I start looking up here, and chances are your head is going to be up in there, up in there. So I think the chances of somebody rolling out of this bed are pretty slim, personally. And if you really do have a busy body, little baby, because I know that's a thing too. My nephew, I found him upside down. I found him flopped out of his bed at home more than once. That can happen, you know. I would probably put him on the bottom bunk, and they'll be, I would think, a little better, a little safer there. Someone might ask, okay, so where's the ladder for the bunks? It is non-existent. It's aftermarket, you know. They just don't include them from the factory. It seems to surprise a lot of people, and I'm not saying they're wrong, but a lot of people don't realize the majority of bunkhouse RVs do not have a ladder. Now, some have some form of a ladder sometimes, or like Rockwood actually ships a ladder with their RVs, but very few bunkhouses actually include a factory ladder. Now, I want to point one of the major options that you have available here. We are looking at one with the optional 13,500 BTU roof air conditioner. By default, it wouldn't be there. It would actually just have a vent in the ceiling right there. By default, where you have an enclosed cabinet over here that I'll get open for you later, that would be an 8,000 BTU side mount air conditioner. The side mount air is less powerful, but it's also lower overhead clearance. So depending on where you're taking the RV to camp, or what you're doing with it, what region you live in, may shape which air conditioner system you want a little, you know, as a preference on these things right here. Now, previously, previously, this had a true queen bed that went wall to wall. And you're looking at it, and it looks like they went with a short queen bed. But remember, they went 8 foot wide. It's still a 60 by 80 residential true queen bed. They just, yeah, it's a corner bed. It's not a front walk-around bed. They have larger campers for stuff like that. But when they went wider, they had extra space over here. It created not really like a shoe garage, but a perfect little flip-flop stop where you can kick your shoes off over there. They added some plugs around there. And they were able to add this extra little smidge not a ton, but smidge of extra storage over here. So cracking that open, you can see it's a small hanging cabinet. If you're tall like me, your shirts are still probably going to dangle touch the bottom of it. That is something, dangle touching is something that I can tolerate in a closet. It's not something that I really like in a toilet bowl. I'll just leave that there and let your imagination do the rest of the work. No matter what you come up with, it's not pleasant. But looking around this thing, like the dinette can fold down into a sleeper. It does have storage below it. There's also some power outlets under the dinette, which is nice. But this kitchen, there are so many little campers that do not have any drawers. And this RV has 4 of them. You know, you've got 2 very respectable sized silverware drawers and then an extra large one below that, and then a bonus one under the refrigerator. The one thing I was really surprised to see is, unlike some of these other single axle Jay Flights, they went full shelf under the sink instead of leaving half of it open vertically to add a wastebasket. This is the first time I've seen them not do that. It could be that I'm in an earlier prototype version. I'm not sure, but I really would have liked to have seen a wastebasket spot in here. That, by the way, is a 12-volt DC compressor fridge, which is really kind of taken over the world. And so far, though, the floor plan is pretty much the same as the previous 174. The one major floor plan difference, other than a little storage around the bed and a little bit bigger dinette, is it now includes an actual sink in the bathroom. Now, granted, no real counter space. At least a small wastebasket space under the sink here in the bathroom is nice. But you actually have a dedicated spot to wash your bathroom hands in the bathroom instead of taking them into the kitchen. Now, as you saw right there, the toilet space is fairly fluffy friendly for righties. For lefties, you're going to be smacking your funny bone on that sink counter every time. The RV's 6.5 foot tall floor to ceiling, which also means you're going to have a little bit of a headroom challenge, basically with the head in the skylight, but I want to give them credit. I want to applaud them for the fact that they actually did include a skylight, because there's a lot of builders that make an RV just like this that don't, and then that's something that I wouldn't fit in at all. Now, they went with a tub instead of a shower door. 1, because it's probably cheaper. 2, because it's lighter. And 3, because it gave you some elbow room that you otherwise wouldn't have. Now, you're about to get a very unflattering look at me as I flip the camera around in live real time here. And you get to see my 5 chin, basically. Anyway, what I want to point out is I'm directly below the ceiling vent in the bathroom. Notice I didn't say vent fan, because it ain't. It is just a vent. It's the one thing, if I could personally wave a magic wand and change one aspect of this RV right away, I would have at least the dollar store 4-inch fart fan up in that thing. I get that it's a basic camper on a budget. They maybe don't want to spend big money on putting something in there. But that feels like juice that's worth the squeeze to me. I would pay a couple extra bucks for a bathroom vent fan. What is your opinion and your take on that, though? And do you appreciate how I share even stuff like that sometimes isn't the most flowery thing, frankly, kind of stinky sort of thing? Dad jokes, classic, that, you could run into. I try to be fair. I try to look at this like I was buying it. That's something that I would want to know, because that's something I think if you've never had a camper, you could run into that, and then you go out camping and you don't know what you don't know. Could you spend money aftermarket to put a fan in there? Yes. Would I like it if you didn't have to? Yes. I had to think about how I phrase that so I knew how to respond to it. I've talked a lot about a fart fan, haven't I? Now, in a case of everything's asset is also its liability, when they went 8 foot wide instead of 7 foot wide, they gained a little bit of weight. And they made it a little harder to see around the camper when you're going down the road. I don't think detrimentally so, because this is a normal 8 foot wide body. If you can see around any normal trailer or fifth wheel, you can see around to here. I just want to place a little bit higher importance on the suggestion of things like towing extension mirrors and whatnot. Now, it doesn't technically have, let me mess with my camera real quick, get you some light in there. It doesn't technically have a full front pass-through, because over on the opposite side is actually where your tankless on-demand water heater is located. And let's talk about that as we're circling around this thing. There are different powers of on-demand water heaters. a lot of manufacturers are using the same 60,000 BTU water heater that Jayco's using here. But in these little single axles, to make their RVs a little bit less expensive, there's also a lot of, pardon all the signage by the way, there's also a lot of manufacturers who are only using like 40 to 42,000 BTU water heater. Well, as the numbers suggest, this has the capacity to get your water up to 50% hotter, or better service two sources of hot water at the same time. So like the kitchen sink and the shower. If you're trying to cook and wash dishes while somebody's in the shower, this can do it. Now they are sticking with their tinted window package over here, which again, a lot of your stick and tin campers just don't offer anything like that. So it's a nice little detail they're putting in. And this is the standard tire package. By default, they are import tires. One thing I do want to point out is they do have blowout guard wheel well liners still included in there. Now, if you want a little more ground clearance, take a look at either the STX package or the Baja package. So those names are a little confusing because this is a Jay Flight SLX, but STX is the Indiana name for kind of a pseudo light duty off pavement kind of package. Fully walkable roof, backup camera prepped, ladder prepped. This one does happen to be outfitted with the 200-watt solar package, by the way. That's something that could always be added later. This is always going to be solar prepped. But, I just saw a squirrel. I don't even remember what I was going to say. But ladies and gentlemen, perhaps the best and most important single update on this product is that it now features the gas grill propanus. That's when the gas comes out the backside. That right there has got to be worth, I don't know, $4,000. Okay, I remember what I was gonna talk about before. Squirrel! Anyway, if you look up here between the speakers, it actually has a stovetop like heat exhaust vent hood. So if you are cooking, the humidity, the heat, the smells that are created when you're cooking, they get exhausted out of the RV. It's incredible how many luxury fifth wheels don't have that. Now, again, I haven't been shy about the fact that it's got a couple potential glitches. It's got a couple things you may really, really not like. But I think if we're being fair, for what it is, it's done pretty well. But then again, it's not like Jayco's new with this. So if you've been following along with the channel, you've seen where, you know, they have new bunkhouse floor plans. They've revised their couples models. I've shown you samples of the fiberglass skin. If you haven't seen any of that, if you're new with us, all of this stuff, if you want to see more of these little guys, videos on all this little stuff is available here on the channel. And if you're kind of curious as to knowing what one of these runs, check the link in the video description. Whether you're curious or serious, if we have one in stock, it'll be listed right there with pricing. But again, you're probably going to see variant pricing even on the same floor plan because of east-west production differences and options. So you always get to see individual pricing of real units right on our website. And if you appreciate that, how we show you the good and the bad, hit that subscribe button and I'll catch you next time. So take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.